what is like some of the biggest things that you're working on or you got going on?
Well, America knew the television network, getting these movies I directed and produced on linear television, the clothing line, the books and the curriculum that we made, and Dusko Goes to Space sold 60,000 books already. I guess they're all equally big, The biggest thing I got is bills.
Here's one thing I don't think anybody really pointed out. They said you were $8 million in debt.
From millions to broke, the shocking fall of Jay-Z's former partner. What's up, celebrity program TV family? Before we dive into this absolutely mind-blowing story that's going to leave you speechless, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're about to expose some serious Hollywood financial secrets that the industry doesn't want you to know about. This is the kind of content that separates us from everyone else, so let's get into it. Picture this. You're worth millions, you helped build one of the most iconic record labels in hip-hop history, you were business partners with one of the richest rappers on the planet, and then suddenly everything comes crashing down like a house of cards. That's exactly what happened to Damon Dash, and what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you view success, money, and the brutal reality of the entertainment industry. Damon Dash, the man who once sat at boardroom tables making million-dollar decisions alongside Jay-Z, the guy who helped create the Rockefeller empire that dominated the music scene in the early 2000s, has just filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy with a debt so staggering it'll make your head spin. We're talking about $25.3 million in debt. Let that sink in for a moment. $25 million. That's more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes, and this man owes every single penny of it. But here's where it gets even more shocking, and I want you to really pay attention to this because this is where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. According to the bankruptcy documents that have just been filed, this 54-year-old former music mogul, this man who used to roll with the biggest names in hip-hop, has exactly $4,350 to his name. $4,000. That's less than what some people spend on a weekend vacation, and it's all that's left of an empire that was once worth millions. Now, before you think this is just another celebrity going broke story, let me tell you why this is different, why this matters, and why every single person watching this video needs to understand what really happened here. Because this isn't just about money, this is about power, betrayal, business deals gone wrong, and the dark side of an industry that chews people up and spits them out without a second thought. Remember to hit that like button if you're shocked as I am right now, because we're just getting started. The numbers are absolutely devastating, and when you break them down, they paint a picture of financial destruction that's almost impossible to comprehend. Out of that $25 million debt, nearly $20 million is owed to the government. Think about that for a second. The IRS doesn't mess around, they don't negotiate like your friendly neighborhood creditor, and when you owe them that kind of money, they will hunt you down to the ends of the earth to get every single penny. But it doesn't stop there, and this is where the story gets personal, where it hits you right in the gut and shows you just how far this man has fallen. $648,000 of that debt is domestic support, money that he owes for child support and alimony. Some of that money goes to his former wife Rachel Roy, and we're talking about support for his daughters Ava, who's 25 years old, and Tallulah, who's just 17. Imagine being 17 years old and watching your father, who was once on top of the world, file for bankruptcy because he can't afford to support his own children. This is the same Damon Dash who used to throw parties that cost more than most people's annual salary, who wore jewelry that could buy a house, who lived a lifestyle so extravagant that it seemed untouchable. The same man who stood next to Jay-Z when they were building Rockefeller Records into a powerhouse that would change hip-hop forever. The same entrepreneur who seemed to have the golden touch, turning everything he touched into money. So what happened? How does someone go from the penthouse to the outhouse so completely and so devastatingly? That's the question everyone's asking, and the answer is more complicated and more shocking than you might think. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because stories like this are exactly why celebrity program TV exists, to give you the real truth behind the headlines. To understand this fall, you have to go back to the beginning, back to when Damon Dash was the king of New York, when he was the co-founder of Rockefeller Records alongside Jay-Z and Kareem Burke. This was the early 90s, and these three men had a vision that would revolutionize hip-hop. They weren't just making music, they were building a brand, creating a lifestyle, establishing an empire that would influence culture for decades to come. Dash wasn't just a silent partner writing checks from the background. This man was the energy, the driving force, the relentless entrepreneur who pushed everyone around him to think bigger, dream harder, and never settle for less than absolute domination. He was the one making the deals, negotiating with the major labels, fighting for creative control when everyone else was willing to sell their souls for a quick payday. When Jay-Z released Reasonable Doubt in 1996, it was Damon Dash's vision and business acumen that helped make it happen. When Rockefeller started expanding beyond music into fashion with Rocawear, into films, into every corner of entertainment, Dash was there orchestrating the moves like a chess grandmaster, thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone else. The money was flowing like water, and for a while, it seemed like nothing could stop them. Rockefeller was generating hundreds of millions in revenue. Jay-Z was becoming not just a rapper but a global icon, and Damon Dash was right there beside him, reaping the rewards of their shared vision. But here's what nobody tells you about success. Here's what they don't teach you in business school, and this is something every subscriber to Celebrity Program TV needs to understand. The higher you climb, the further you can fall, and sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding the knife that cuts you down. The relationship between Dash and Jay-Z started to deteriorate, and when I say deteriorate, I mean it became a full-blown war that would ultimately destroy everything they had built together. There were creative differences, business disagreements, and personality conflicts that turned two partners into bitter enemies. Jay-Z wanted to go in one direction, Dash wanted to go in another, and neither man was willing to compromise. Make sure you're subscribed because the next part of the story is going to blow your mind. In 2004, the unthinkable happened. Jay-Z sold his stake in Rockefeller Records to Def Jam for a reported $10 million, but here's the kicker. He did it without consulting Damon Dash. Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that your business partner, the person you trusted with everything, had sold the company you built together without even telling you. That's exactly what happened to Dash, and it was the beginning of the end. But Jay-Z didn't just sell his stake and walk away. He was named president of Def Jam, effectively becoming Dash's boss overnight. The student had become the master, the partner had become the enemy, and Damon Dash found himself on the outside looking in at the empire he had helped create. The legal battles that followed were brutal, expensive, and ultimately devastating for Dash's finances. Court case after court case, lawyer fees piling up like snow in a blizzard, and meanwhile, his sources of income were drying up faster than a puddle in the desert. Without Rockefeller, without Jay-Z, without the machine that had been generating millions of dollars, Dash was essentially starting over, but with all the expenses and lifestyle costs of someone who is still living like a millionaire. This is where the story gets really dark, where you see just how quickly things can spiral out of control when you're not prepared for the fall. Dash tried to launch new businesses, new record labels, new ventures, but nothing seemed to stick. The magic touch that had made him millions was gone, and every new project seemed to fail more spectacularly than the last. The IRS started coming after him for unpaid taxes, and when the government wants their money, they don't care about your past success or your current struggles. They want their cut of every dollar you made during the good times, and if you can't pay, they'll take everything you own, and then some. Hit that subscribe button if you're seeing how quickly success can turn into disaster. Child support payments that seemed manageable when you're making millions become impossible when your income drops to zero. Ex-wives who are used to a certain lifestyle don't suddenly become understanding when the money stops flowing. The bills keep coming, the obligations keep mounting, and meanwhile, your ability to generate income keeps declining. Dash's attempts at comeback after comeback began to look more and more desperate. Reality TV shows that nobody watched, business ventures that failed before they even got off the ground, public feuds with former associates that made him look bitter and out of touch. Every move seemed to make things worse. Every decision seemed to dig the hole deeper. The man who once had the Midas touch was now the poster child for how not to handle success, how not to manage money, and how not to maintain relationships in an industry that's built on loyalty and trust. But here's what makes this story even more tragic, and this is something that should serve as a warning to everyone watching this video. Damon Dash's downfall wasn't just about bad business decisions or legal problems. It was about ego, pride, and the inability to adapt when circumstances changed. While Jay-Z evolved, grew, and learned how to navigate the changing music industry, Dash seemed stuck in the past, still fighting battles that he had already lost, still trying to reclaim a glory that was never coming back. The bankruptcy filing is just the latest chapter in a story that's been building for almost 2 decades. $25 million in debt, $4,000 in assets, and a reputation that's been so damaged that finding new opportunities becomes almost impossible. This is what rock bottom looks like when you fall from the very top of the mountain. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we're about to wrap this up with some hard truths that everyone needs to hear. What can we learn from Damon Dash's spectacular fall from grace? First, success without sustainability is just a setup for failure. Making millions means nothing if you don't know how to keep millions, invest millions, and protect millions from the inevitable storms that life throws your way. Second, relationships matter more than ego. The feud with Jay-Z might have felt justified at the time, but it ultimately cost Dash everything he had worked for. Sometimes swallowing your pride and finding a way to work things out is worth more than being right. Third, the entertainment industry is unforgiving. One day you're the king, the next day you're irrelevant, and if you don't have a plan for when the music stops, you'll find yourself exactly where Damon Dash is today, broke, desperate, and running out of options. This story isn't just about one man's downfall. It's a cautionary tale about success, money, relationships, and the brutal reality of an industry that creates legends and destroys them with equal efficiency. It's about the importance of financial literacy, the danger of living beyond your means, and the devastating consequences of letting personal conflicts destroy professional opportunities. Damon Dash's bankruptcy is more than just a headline. It's a masterclass in how not to handle success, and every single person watching this video should take notes, because the lessons here could save you from making the same catastrophic mistakes. That's a wrap on this incredible story, but this is just the beginning of what Celebrity Program TV has in store for you. We're going to keep bringing you the stories that matter, the secrets that shock, and the truth that the industry doesn't want you to know. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on because, trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Like this video if it opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and I'll see you in the next one where we're going to expose even more shocking celebrity secrets that will leave you absolutely speechless.